Welcome back to another little issue of Datsun Dan's Garage. This is my Datsun 620 pickup with the Buick V6. Medford Drag Strip opened this weekend. They were going to have their first test and tune April 1st. And of course I wanted to go, so I worked on the truck last weekend, fixing a few things. Thursday evening I went to start it, and it didn't want to start. Friday afternoon I figured out it was the starter. So I ripped the starter out and I got it hooked up here to a battery to do a simple test. Hook it up, positive to negative, and solenoid kicks out, but it locks up. It doesn't want to spin. So I didn't get to go racing this weekend. Figures April Fools would jinx me. So I got to tear the starter apart and see what's wrong with it, if I can fix it or if I got to replace it. But I'm bummed I didn't get to go racing. But that's the life of hot rods. Well, later I'll tear the starter apart. We'll see what's wrong with it. Bye. Alright, I got the starter all tore apart. This is why I tore it apart here. I hope you can see this. I'm out in the sun. It's got a couple chipped teeth on it. I think it did it when it backfired trying to start it one day. It's not that bad, but those few teeth right there, I think it jammed and locked up on the flywheel maybe, but everything's fine inside. I don't find any bad gears on it anywhere. The armatures and everything are good. But what I did find is, this is your brush plate, and this black oxide like coating here right around the screw hole here. It's the 4 contact plate spots where it contacts in the cap. You can see here the same markings. That's where it grounds to the cap, which grounds to the body, grounds to the body of the starter, which grounds to the engine. And if it's build up a oxide resistant coating baked on there between those contact points, it might not be making a connection. But I checked my windings here. Let's see if I can do this again. You can see here the windings are good. And these ones in here. It's an ohm meter. I'm checking these. So I got continuity through the brush, through the windings. Tells me it's good. I don't know why it wasn't working, but we're gonna put it back together. I'm gonna clean these spots up, sand them down, and clean in the cap, them same spots, and see if I put it back together, see if it'll drop the camera, see if it'll work. Once I clean them spots up, we'll try this some more later. I'll show one more thing here. I sanded this down. This is a pitting, like a pitting where the electricity's been arcing, and this is the ground plate that grounds to this cap, and I sanded in there. And I've got some Oxiguard, which is, it's a corrosion inhibitor grease. It guards against oxidation, improves conductivity, and produces a cooler connection, it says on it. I'm going to put a little bit of that where it contacts, but you're putting 12 volts through the starter, back through these 4 little points right here. We're touching the cap, and you can see where it was kind of pitting. I'm thinking it just wasn't getting a good ground, because basically it grounds back through the body. You can see one set of brushes are actually crimped right to this backing plate, which is the ground plate. So if it wasn't getting good ground back through this cap, starter isn't going to work good no matter if you got good connection to the starter or not. It's the ground that carries the charge back through the system. So if your ground isn't good, you're going to have problems. So you can have good connection to the starter, but if the ground is bad, so I'm going to put some ox guard on this, put it back together, and see if it makes a difference, see if the thing will work. I'll be back. One other thing I want to point out, I need to clean this armature here. You can clean it with fine sandpaper. I got a sanding block here. You just basically gently polish it, clean it with some solvent, get the oil, baked on oil off of it. Polish it a little bit so electricity can get through it, and I'm going to clean the brushes just a little bit too. They're hard to clean, but I'll do it a little bit. There, it's all clean and polished. I do a crosshatch kind of 45 pattern all the way around. Clean that armature good, and electricity can get through it again, all the baked on oxidation. So, and then of course I got to grease all the gears. I've got some wheel bearing grease here. It's a little thick, but starter only has to crank once in a while. Later. Alright, after cleaning it and putting it back together, look at this. Works like new. I think that's all it was. It was dirty, and connections were bad in there because of the ground connections in there in the body. The starter's 13 years old, but this truck has sat a lot too, so that has something to do with it. Yeah, cleaned it up, put it in, got to put it back together. This is a high torque mini starter, and it's designed to be clocked for different positions. And to get this in there, to actually install it, I got to take this faceplate off, 2 bolts here, take it off, slip the starter up in there, put the faceplate back in there with the starter up in place with the torsion bar right here, slip the faceplate on, put the 2 screws back in it. It's a tight fit, but this is the only thing I could make fit in this engine. And you see a little bit of the corners ground off here where it's got to clear the A-frame on the steering, kinda the lower control arm frame, and I just had to grind a little bit of this to fit the Buick block. This is made to fit Chevys, but the bolt pattern is the same on a Buick and a Chevy, but the block is slightly different. So yeah, I just had to modify it a little bit, but it's like new. So yeah, gonna install it. We'll see in a minute. Well, it'll take a few minutes anyways. Be back. Alright, here we're under the truck looking. I got the starter up in there between the oil pan and the torsion bar here, and the cross member. You can see how tight this fits up in there, how tight the exhaust is. I got the nose of the starter off, and it just simply slips on in 2 Allen screws. But I can lift the starter up in there, and then I got to slip this up in there and get it on the starter, put the 2 Allen screws in there, and then I can bolt the starter up. It's tight fit. I engineered and fabricated all this stuff and had a custom oil pan built that was larger sump on the back because I clearance for the steering on the front to the oil pan and stuff here. So this is some of the work done on this little truck to make this 231 Buick V6 engine fit in this Datsun pickup. And the torsion bars here are kind of the problem, but everything fits. But the exhaust, I can't get my finger between it there, and yeah, it's a tight fit, all custom done. But the starter works. All I got to do is put the faceplate on it, bolt it up, and start it. The ring gear and both the starter gear do have some chipped teeth on them. I'm probably going to end up having to replace this starter gear, and when I do it, I better replace the ring gear flex plate too, because the teeth that are chewed up on it will end up chewing up the new starter gear. So, oh boy, that's a fun project. Later. I'm back again. Well, after a little screwing around and investigating, I figured out it was battery cable. I think it's just corroded inside where the two connections to the starter and the fusible link were not getting adequate juice, even though it was getting some connection through it. So I replaced the battery cable, put a new connection, just crimped it onto the fusible link that I made out of correct fusible link wire. Got it all hooked up, and it starts now. Something rattling. Bracket things to rattle. Alternator bracket come loose again. Okay, no more rattle. Tighten it up. But I'm hearing a rattle and a vibration out of that alternator. It's like only a year old, and I'm thinking it's going out already.